Hello everyone, welcome to our full preview of the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix. It's a big compilation video of all of our preview content ahead of this weekend's race. Everything you need to know in this one-stop shop, including the 5 drivers you need to be looking out for, the fast facts, and of course who has won this race the most times over the decades. And as well, on top of that, we also look into the rule change that could shake up the order of the grid. More on that as we go through the video. Skip to the timestamps in the description if you're on YouTube and have a look at the story that you're most interested in. But without further ado, let's dive in. Buenos dias todos. It's the Spanish Grand Prix on this weekend, guys. So as always, ahead of the event, here are the 5 drivers that I am paying special attention to for this weekend's action around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, the final Spanish Grand Prix to be held at the circuit, although this track is meant to be on the calendar next year, although it will be under a new name, presumably. So here are the 5 drivers that I think have got interesting stories, things to prove this weekend. And the first of these is none other than Max Verstappen. Verstappen has won the 3 previous Spanish Grand Prix, has won this event 4 times. Only a certain someone I'm going to mention directly after this has won more than him around the Spanish Grand Prix. Now, of course, at this point in the championship, there's still a very, very long way to go, but he is now on the verge of being a race win behind both Piastri and Norris. He's already behind Piastri by more than a race victory. But how is he going to get on this weekend? Well, I think he's got a chance of a good result for sure. There is serious pace in that Red Bull. I think if Monaco was easier to overtake around, I think he potentially could have got onto the podium in the last race. But as it was, he ended up in P4 by the finish. But yeah, no, I think he's got a good chance. The Red Bull on the whole does look quicker, I must be honest. You know, it's got some decent pace there, and we saw that in Imola, of course, where he was untouchable. We could see something like that happen again. I doubt it personally. Barcelona is a very different track compared to Imola, but I think it's possible as well, so we'll see what happens there. But Hamilton, Sir Lewis Hamilton, he has more victories than anybody else on the current grid, joint most with Michael Schumacher with 6 overall, and he also won 5 times on the bounce between 2017 and 2021, but he's not won in a few years now. Mercedes, of course, in that time not been the best, but our Ferrari back, they were looking very quick around Monaco. He qualified in P4, Charles Leclerc qualified in P2, Hamilton managed to finish P5 after starting P7 because of the penalties that was applied to him during the qualifying session. I think he's got a chance, of a podium. I really do. An outside shot, I think it's unlikely. I would say that, McLaren and the Red Bull of Verstappen are the heavy favourites for those top 3 spots. Let's not get away from that. And, this is a track that he knows extremely well. He's had a lot of success around over the years. Asking for a victory is just too much. But I think an outside shot for a podium. I really do think so. But Fernando Alonso can only dream of the podium right now. This man, honestly, I can't believe he's still not scored any points this year. Obviously, very unlucky in the last round with the engine failure for his Aston Martin. But my God, the guy, if he had no bad luck, he'd have no luck. Honestly, he's getting nothing but bad luck right now. He's an incredible driver. He's an incredible talent. He's won here in the past twice. His most recent victory in Formula 1 came here back in 2013, 12 years ago. It's been that long since Alonso managed to win a race. It's incredible stuff really when you think about it. Kimi Antonelli, most of his lifetime, there's not been a Fernando Alonso winning that in that time, because of course he's only 18 years of age. So yeah, man, if they do a good qualifying, they should be able to get up there, but the car is not the best, and this is a track where the car matters a lot. You get found out if your car is not very good, so I think, honestly, it's unlikely he's going to get points. But if anybody can manage it, it's the Spanish Samurai with the home crowd roaring him on. And that home crowd will also be roaring on Carlos Sainz. Now, Sainz is doing an incredible job at Williams. He did a fantastic job in the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend just gone to hold the pack up and support his teammate Alex Albon. Yes, we can criticise the tactics of these teams all we want, of course, but they're always going to do whatever they can. It was in the rules. It wasn't in the spirit of Formula 1, but screw the spirit. Points, pay prizes. That's all they care about. That's Formula 1. Simple as that. But Carlos Sainz, I really do like him. I really do think he's doing a good job. He's growing into this car more and more. And this is a track where he does really well. I think he went on a very long streak of always scoring points here, which I think may still be going since the start of his career, perhaps. It's been a long time. This is his 11th attempt at the Spanish Grand Prix. He's never managed to win it. He has had a few wins over the years for Ferrari, but I don't see him getting a win here. But yeah, honestly, if they get a podium, That'd be a massive job for them. That'd be an incredible result for them. I don't see it happening. I think solid but unspectacular points, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, something around there they will most likely be, will the Williams of Albon and Sainz. But of course, Sainz will have that Spanish crowd supporting him, egging him on to try and get a good result for his home race. We'll see what happens with this one. And the final driver I'm going to talk about is George Russell. And I'm highlighting Russell because Mercedes had an absolute shocker last weekend in Monaco. Their strategy was off, their pace was crap, their qualifying was absolutely turgid. It was terrible. It was a whole cavalcade of errors and mistakes and mechanical issues, and everything went wrong for them. So surely, around a track where historically they do very, very well here, like I said, Hamilton went here 5 times on the bounce for Mercedes, even when they didn't win. This car has been very good around this track over the years. Been some incredible results. I'm sure in 2022, Hamilton went from the back of the grid to like 5th by the end. He could have won that race if he started further up. You never know. Crazier things have happened, although, of course, that was when Verstappen was winning every race. Probably, maybe P2. But yeah, I think they definitely got a chance of a good result this weekend, given the pace in the car. But, the pressure's on. The pressure's on. It shifted from being Ferrari looking like the 4th fastest team to Mercedes now. It's switcherooed. But we'll see if it switcheroos back this weekend. Who knows? I would wager Mercedes will probably have a good weekend. Probably be at least the 3rd fastest car, behind probably the McLarens and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. We'll see what happens. But yeah, guys, what are your predictions for this weekend? Who are you looking out for? Who's going to get the victory? Your thoughts in the comments below. Here we go, guys. Spanish Grand Prix is on this weekend, and just like every other race weekend, we're looking at the fast facts. As many fast facts as I can get through in less than 5 minutes here on the channel. So let's not wait around. Let's dive in. The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya is an ideal track for testing a Formula 1 car, as it has a wide range of corner types and speeds, plus some long straights. Slow speed corners such as turns 5 and 10 focus on mechanical grip, but high speed sections such as turn 3 and 9 test the car's aerodynamic grip. Sector 3 is incredibly important, and drivers can find a lot of lap time here in the slow corners. It can be rare for a driver to set 3 purple sectors at the circuit, because maximising grip and being faster in sector 1 will overheat the tyres for the crucial 3rd sector. The chicane in the final sector of the lap was removed in 2023, reverting back to the previous track layout for the final 2 corners. Thank goodness for that. Nobody liked that chicane. More Mickey Mouse than Disneyland was that. Most of the track's low speed turns are left-handers, and most of the right-handers are taken at high speed, so slightly different car setups can be used on the left and right-hand sides of the car, and the track characteristics also mean that the left tyres wear out quicker, while the right tyres experience lower temperatures. 24 of the 34 races that have taken place at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya have been won from pole position. The winning driver of the Spanish Grand Prix has come from the front row in 31 of the previous 34 races, even more times than Monaco at 30 out of 34. The start of the ground effect era at the start of 2023 presented a very different challenge for the drivers around this track. For example, the long turn 3 is now taken at 225 km an hour compared to 240 km the previous year in 2021. The fast turn 9 is now at 250 km, whereas in 2021 it was taken at around 265 km, although of course Formula 1 teams are working hard all the time, and that gap will be very much closed. Barcelona first appeared on the calendar in 1991 and has hosted the Spanish Grand Prix every single season since, although of course it won't be hosting it next year. We go to the Mad Ring. Great. Lewis Hamilton recorded his 100th pole position at the 2021 Spanish Grand Prix while driving for Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton holds the record for most consecutive wins at a Grand Prix circuit, with 5 with Barcelona between 2017 and 2021. He shares this record with Ayrton Senna at Monaco between 89 and 1993. Very illustrious company to be in there. George Russell triumphed at Barcelona in 2018, driving in Formula 2, and he shared the podium that day with future F1 drivers Lando Norris and Nick de Vries. Their careers in Formula 1 since then have rather diverged of de Vries and Norris, but interesting bit of trivia nonetheless. Max Verstappen has finished on the podium in the last 7 consecutive Spanish Grand Prix, winning the last 3 editions on the bounce, in which he led 139 of the past 150 250 laps at the circuit. He's rather good around here. Verstappen also claimed his maiden Formula 1 victory in 2016 on debut for the Red Bull Racing team, becoming the youngest ever race winner and the youngest podium finisher at 18 years and 228 days. He also held the record for the youngest driver to lead a lap in the Formula 1 race, but that has been usurped since then, since Bike. He also held the record for the youngest driver to ever lead a Formula 1 Grand Prix, although that has no. He also held the record for the youngest driver to ever lead a Formula 1 Grand Prix lap, but that has since been beaten by Kimi Antonelli this year in Japan. This weekend's Grand Prix in Spain will be the 35th Formula 1 race to take place at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, which ties the Suzuka circuit as the 10th most used venue in Formula 1 history. It is on the calendar for next year, but it won't host the Spanish Grand Prix. But there you go, guys. A lot of fast facts there for you for Spain. It's a circuit that Formula 1 knows very well. It's going to stick around on the calendar next year, although it will not host the Spanish Grand Prix. It'll either be the Catalan Grand Prix or the Barcelona Grand Prix, or hell, like I said in another video, bring back the European Grand Prix. Go back to the good old days. I want to see the European Grand Prix back. But what do you think about the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, guys? Do you like this track? Do you not? Do you think it's overrated? And who's going to win this weekend as well? My pick personally would be Oscar Piastri, but we'll see what happens this weekend. The Spanish Grand Prix is on this weekend, guys. Let's have a look at the most successful drivers in the history of the event, whether it's the Circuit de Catalunya, whether it's Jarama, Jerez, or anywhere else in between. This is always a race that very much entertains, and it's going to be the last Spanish Grand Prix held at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya as we move to the Mad Ring for next year. Yay! Can't wait for that. Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya is on the calendar next year for 2026 in Formula 1, although it will not be hosting the Spanish Grand Prix. So we'll see what it's called, whether it's the Catalan Grand Prix, the Barcelona Grand Prix, or something else. We'll see. Hey, bring the European Grand Prix back. Why not? I'd like to see that. But these are all the drivers who have won the most around the Spanish Grand Prix over the decades. This is an event that's been mainly on, but also off at time the calendars since the very first days of Formula 1. The first Formula 1 Spanish Grand Prix held in 1951 and won, of course, by Juan Manuel Fangio, who was not Spanish, he was Argentine, but of course he won a lot of races back in the 50s. Since then, of course, like I said, it's gone to many venues over the years, but it's found a permanent home at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya ever since 1991. And it's going to be sad to see it not be the host of the Spanish Grand Prix next year, but good to see it back on the calendar, although I think it will probably drop off eventually, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, these are all the drivers that have won around here at least 3 times in their careers. So let's dive in. Let's start off with one of my favourite drivers of all time, Mika Häkkinen. Häkkinen won here 3 times on the bounce between 1998 and the year 2000, winning the title in 98 and 99. He could have so easily won here in 2001 as well. He was leading by a mile, but his McLaren ended up retiring in the latter stages. Absolutely heartbreaking for Mika during that Grand Prix and what ended up being his final season in Formula 1. He did later win, though, at the United States Grand Prix in Indianapolis just before his career ended. But yeah, Mika was very good around here. Alain Prost, meanwhile, was also pretty good around the Spanish Grand Prix as well, winning in 1988 for McLaren at Jerez, also at Jerez in 1990, this time for Ferrari though, and he managed to win at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya in 1993, this time for Williams. So 3 different wins for 3 different constructors for Alain Prost. Nigel Mansell, though, all of his 3 victories around the Spanish Grand Prix were for Williams, but again at different venues. He almost got his first victory at the Spanish Grand Prix in 1986, but he missed out on the line racing against Ayrton Senna's Lotus. This was at Jerez, and at the time I do believe this was the smallest margin of victory in Formula 1, though of course the Ferraris did break that at Indianapolis in 2002. Mansell, though, managed to get his first victory in Spain the following year in 1987, also at Jerez, and he managed to win in back-to-back years for Williams in 1991 and 1992. 1991 as well was the iconic image of him and Ayrton Senna driving down the pit straight, sparks flying, damp and slippery conditions. Very tricky to master it, but master it they did at that time. And Mansell, like I said, a 3-time winner around this circuit. Now, the last 3-time winner of the Spanish Grand Prix is a 3-time Formula 1 world champion. It's none other than Sir Jackie Stewart, who, like Mika Häkkinen, about 30 years later, won in back-to-back years between 1969, nice, and 1971, winning for Matra, March, and Tyrrell around Montjuic twice in 69 and 71, and also once at Jarama. And I believe that his victory at Jarama is where one of the most iconic images of Formula 1 was taken as well, with the car on fire in the background. I believe it was Jackie Ickx on fire in the background, although I could be wrong with that, and I could be wrong about that being the right race. But let's get to the 4-time winners next, and appropriately, it's a 4-time world champion. It's not Alan Prost, we've already talked about him. Of course, it's Max Verstappen. Verstappen managed to win his first Formula 1 Grand Prix in 2016 at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, after, of course, the Mercedes of Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, totally not controversially, took each other out on the first lap. I'm not going to debate who was at fault, that's a video for another day. But Verstappen eventually, it took a while for him to get a second victory round here, actually. 2022 getting his second win here, then backing it up in 23, and then again in 24. He came close to victory here in 2021 as well, battling out for the championship with Sir Lewis Hamilton at that time, but the pit stop strategy ended up benefiting Hamilton in what was a fantastic race around this circuit, I must say. Verstappen as well, I'd argue he didn't have the fastest car here last year either, but he just beat Lando Norris off the line from pole position for the McLaren driver, and just basically converted it from there. This is a great track for him because, he's won here 4 times in total, 3 times on the bounce. But who are those 2 guys? Well, they top this list as being the only 6-time winners of this Grand Prix over the years, and the first one, the more recent one to achieve that feat, is Sir Lewis Hamilton. If Hamilton manages to win this weekend for Ferrari, he will of course go to the top of this list, but for now he is equal with the next guy we're going to talk about. You've probably already guessed who it is, but we'll speak about him very shortly. Hamilton never won here for McLaren. He did get the fastest qualifying time and qualify originally in pole position for the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, but of course he was disqualified from that for not being able to provide a fuel sample. I will go in depth as well for you guys this week, going over the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix and all the controversies and conspiracy theories around that race, because it's a very interesting one. He had a puncture here, I think, in 2010 as well. For a long time, it was a cursed circuit for him, being, of course, the home track of Fernando Alonso. He was very much the persona non grata going around here. He was enemy number 1, pretty much. Not so much these days, I don't think, but yeah, back in those days, the Spanish fans, let's just say, were not too keen on Hamilton, to put it very mildly. But around here, for Mercedes, the guy's been incredible. He managed to win here in 2014 and then 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21. 5 wins on the bounce. 5 victories on the bounce between 2017 and 2021. Unbelievable. Like I said, great battle between him and Max Verstappen for 2021. Aside from that, though, he was really dominant in a lot of these. 2016, he could have won had the crash not happened between him and Rosberg. Again, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just stating a fact. Mercedes have typically been very fast around here over the years because of all the testing, but he's at Ferrari this time, so we'll see how he gets on there. Ferrari not winning for quite some time, I don't believe. It's been a long time since Ferrari managed to actually win a Spanish Grand Prix. In fact, the last time, I'm just looking up now, the last time Ferrari won a Spanish Grand Prix was Fernando Alonso back in 2013, so it's been a while. Same with Fernando Alonso, to be fair, that's his last win in Formula 1 as well, so there you go. But who has the most wins of all time around the Spanish Grand Prix? You already know who it is. It's gone. It can only be one person. Michael Schumacher. Incredible. 6 victories for him over the years here. 1 for Benetton in 1995 and the rest for Ferrari in 1996. One of the greatest wet weather drives of all time. 2001, 02, 3 and 4. Dominant in all those years in Formula 1. Dominant at the Spanish Grand Prix in all those years as well, with 4 victories on the bounce to his name. Hamilton, of course, has the most consecutive victories with 5 in a row, obviously there. But, Schumacher was really good around Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. He probably would have won in 1994 had he not had his gearbox problem where he was stuck in 6th gear for the majority of the race. But despite that, he managed to actually still get 2nd place. Such was his overall speed. But yeah, Schumacher very good around here. But Hamilton and Verstappen will be looking to topple him. Hamilton could do it this weekend. Verstappen will need a few more years at the very least to be able to do it. But who are you picking for the win this weekend. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. So we have a new rule change coming in for this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. Now, this was announced quite some time ago. It's a new technical directive relating to the flexibility of the bodywork of the front wing of Formula One cars. Now, why are they doing this? What is changing and what effect will it have on the grid? Well, I'm going to give all my thoughts in this video for you guys. Basically, what is changing is that Formula One is trying to stop what it calls excessive flexing of the front wing. This is something that we saw tested extensively during certain races last year, most notably during the Italian and Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The FIA is basically concerned about teams flexing their front wings too much and becoming a safety hazard as a result. So they're tightening the regulations when it comes to this. The FIA tests for this by putting a 1000 Newton load, which is basically a kilogram, in a downward direction at 2 points along the front wing. Now, before this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix, these wings could deflect, i.e. move, by up to 15 millimeters in a vertical direction. Now, before the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, the FIA basically allowed a vertical deflection, i.e. how much the wing actually moves, by up to 15 millimeters when a 1 kilogram load was placed at one point and then 1 kilogram load was placed at another point. Overall, when only being placed on one side, up to 20 millimeters, 2 centimeters would be allowed. However, it's now changing. So when these loads are applied on 2 places on the front wing, you are only allowed a deflection of 10 millimeters, 1 centimeter, and when only being placed on one side, only 15 millimeters, 1.5 centimeters is allowed. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but it is significant. It's basically meaning that the front wing has to be stronger under load. This is to simulate how much load is being placed on the front wing while at speed. Of course, when the cars are still, like when they're being tested, there is only a very small amount of air being pushed down upon them. But when they're going at 200 miles an hour down the straight, so much load is being pushed into the front wing. That's basically what generates downforce. But a downside of that is that force actually does deflect or move effectively the front wing down. And like I said at the start, the FAA is basically concerned that Formula One teams are going to make their wings unsafe by making them lighter just to allow them to deflect some more. It's a safety hazard in their mind. But there's another side to this as well, of course. It's the aerodynamic benefits, the so-called mini DRS effect. Now, this is something that's been raging for a long time in terms of the actual benefit that it gives. You know, we've seen camera angles that appear to show the rear wings, not the front wings, the rear wings in this case of the McLarens at Baku, opening up a little bit and giving a so-called mini DRS effect. It's basically where the bodywork of these wings flexes a little bit and allows a little opening in the elements, because you normally see quite a few different elements. I mean, I'll try and put a picture on the screen so you guys can see just for an example, but you can see all these pieces effectively, all these building blocks effectively that make the front wing. These elements, when they are under stress, when they are being deflected, can actually open up and allow more airflow through them, reducing drag. Then when they slow down for the corner, they close up again, they undeflect, they go back to the more like the natural state, and therefore they actually do produce a lot of downforce. It's a bit of both worlds. Now, this does get into the territory allegedly of things like active aerodynamics, although it's not active aerodynamics in the most literal sense. You know, it's not like DRS where the driver presses a button and the wing opens up like that. It's something that's produced naturally by the airflow of the car, although some people say that it's not allowed, and this will effectively tighten up what is actually allowed when it comes to the strength and deflection that's allowed for these wings. And something else to note as well, that there is a new test being introduced for the Spanish Grand Prix as well. Before Spain, the rules said that any part of the trailing edge of any front wing flap may deflect no more than 5 millimeters when measured along the loading axis with a 60 Newton point load applied, and that is to be reduced to 3 millimeters for this weekend. So again, a little change there. Now, again, you might be wondering, what effect is this going to have on the grid? Well, we don't really know, to be honest, until they get out on track, or at least they get into qualifying. It's very much speculated that McLaren are going to suffer a lot from this. This does feel to a lot of people like this is a technical directive that is aimed at reducing the advantage that McLaren have, but I don't think the main advantage for McLaren really is in their front wing. I think it's with their tyre wear, particularly over a Grand Prix distance. So it may hurt a lot of teams. It may hurt McLaren a little bit more than the others, but I don't think this is going to be the silver bullet for teams to be able to catch up in terms of the pace compared to McLaren, because overall I think they've got other advantages. I think that Mercedes engine's fantastic in the back of that car. I think the tyre wear that they are able to do is the biggest differentiating factor between them and the rest of the field. midfield. But there we go, guys. Those are my kind of thoughts and what is going on when it comes to this. It could hurt McLaren a little bit, but I don't think it's going to see them drop into the midfield or anything. I still think they're going to have a big advantage in the race, although maybe marginally a little less. This is a track, of course, Spain, where there are 2 long straights, so if it is going to have an effect, if it is going to be detrimental, this is going to be one of the tracks where it is going to hurt more than others, but we'll see what happens, guys. It could well hurt somebody else a lot more. Alpine apparently will be hurt quite badly by this, which would be a disaster for them because they're already terrible. So we'll see what happens. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. This guy's a fantastic day wherever you're on the world today, and we'll see you very soon for much more content just like this.